Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Barony, Cursus, and this is the second half of the Dungeon Expedition with me and the Fuax. The first one is being uploaded as we speak, so they should be up by the end of the day, hopefully both of these. Now back to the game. This is sort of like a camp level, intermediary level between sections, which allows you to sort of pause, identify items, catch your breath, hopefully get some good loot. You see here I'm identifying various items and just sort of feeling bad for the Fuax for doing all the hard work. I'm giving him a lovely bottle of fruit juice, and nothing quite like fruit juice. But then, all joking aside, we sort of decide to get on with the game at hand and press deeper into the mines. We are here for a job after all. Pardon me, let me take a quick drink. But now we are, I believe this is like the jungle level or the forest level, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a fan of this level personally. For me, the entire game, this level is one of the ones I hate the most. As you'll see in a second, without spoiling it, you'll sort of find out why. It's really hard to see stuff here, like that. Yeah, traps, especially boulder traps, are really hard to notice. The greenery hides them, and unless you've got really high perception skill, they tend to take you by surprise, as happened to me. Now what's going to happen here is the Fuax is going to go through all my gear and equipment and basically chuck away everything that's not useful, or just my food in general. So this gives me a second to explain exactly what Midweek Madness is to you that are watching. Midweek Madness is every Wednesday I upload a series of videos either of Barony or of other roguelike games. I normally only upload 1 or 2 videos a week, but in this I'm going to upload as many as possible as my internet will allow. Unfortunately, I'm in Cornwall and my internet connection isn't fantastic, so it does limit my impact I can do. But let's just watch and find out, shall we? Indeed. Yeah, he's basically just sort of going through all my gear and I'm trying to advise him what to take. And I'm saying to prioritise weapons and armour over everything else, which is sort of kind of mandatory for this game. You can sort of get by without really having other items to a certain extent when you're in a mage class, but because I'm basically an arcanist, which is like a mixture of rogue and wizard, it means that I really can't take damage, so I need to have armour and I need to have backup weapons in case they get close to killing me. Because the magic mechanics in this game means that you will literally have to charge up to use attacks, and a lot of the bigger spells take a while to charge up, so if I get jumped, I will die. So yeah, we're just sort of discussing battle strategy at this point. He says he's going to sort of go off and explore and sort of scout the level, and I'm sort of wondering what's going on as I do. To be honest, I haven't much experience with this game. I picked it up about a week ago and I found it really interesting. It was like playing good old-fashioned Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid, so I sort of really wanted to do a Let's Play, and the Fuax was gentlemanly enough to basically offer to do co-op with me, which was really, really nice of him, to be honest. But yeah, he's just sort of going through and chucking away useless items that he doesn't think I'll need. Also, it limits his carrying space. Well, it lightens up his carrying load. There's some more of those traps I was telling you about, the arrow traps. Good old Indiana Jones arrow traps. You can get them poisoned, I believe. I have yet to see them, but I do believe poisoned arrows are something. And here are some of the main enemies of this floor. Goblins wearing gnome hats. Now he sort of engages with a pair of goblins here in this fervent duel. Unfortunately, he's using my crossbow and it breaks, so I wasn't particularly happy about that when it came to light. But to be honest, I'd rather he was alive, because at least it means I can respawn and I still have my magic. But I did like my crossbow. The crossbow in this game is really, really nice. A bit unrealistic. Even like a small single-handed like hunting crossbow would take time to reload. But it is a pretty powerful weapon in the game, to be in all honesty. But a lot of the monsters in this game are overpowered to a certain extent, so it sort of balances itself out. Now he's going to go and do his usual strategy, which is that when I tend to go straight to the next level when my sort of co-adventurer dies, just so that he can get back into the game as quickly as possible. The Fuax, depending on the level that we're in, will either go straight for the exit like me, or he will basically try and get as much gear as possible to help me out on the next level, which is really generous of him. So what he's done here, yeah, as you can tell, we haven't got any water walking equipment or levitation, so we have to swim, which is really quite dangerous in this game, because the enemies can still shoot at you and you can't shoot back, I believe. Anyway, so he's basically got to the other side. We're quite lucky that there's a shop here. You don't always get shops on levels, so it's sort of like a hit and miss mechanic. It's good to have money, but to get money you have to sell items, and to sell items you need a shop to buy them. So we were really quite lucky when we found this store. I believe it's like a general store, it's one of the rarer ones, because they allow you to basically sell a lot of goods to the shopkeeper without problems. But before he goes in, he decides to have a drink from this fountain, which backfires massively because the fountain basically makes him go blind. Must have been pouring out moonshine or something, very, very powerful stuff, that water. Well, he's basically gone blind and he's staggering about trying to get into the shop. And I was there thinking, now, should I sort of type and help him? Though in the end he didn't really need my help. He eventually found the shopkeeper somehow. I think it wore off, or he just sort of figured out from the layout of the room, but I'm suspecting that it wore off, because he didn't actually drink any potions or anything. But yeah, he's basically, I believe this is like a general storekeeper, which is one of the rarer storekeepers in the game, because they buy most stuff. If you haven't played Barony, the shopkeepers tend to be very selective, which be they either be potion sellers or hardware sellers or weapon sellers. So they'll only buy items of that type, and because obviously you're limited in your carrying capacity in the game, it makes you really cautious about being overladen in case minotaurs turn up or you get jumped by like a swarm of rats. All these things have happened to us before in game, and it's really not pleasant. I died in a previous playthrough where the Fuax got taken out by a troll, and I went to grab his equipment, and the minotaur turned up and I was too overladen to get away. He basically beat me into red jam on the floor, unfortunately, which is not pleasant. Yeah, so basically the Fuax has got to basically try and hunt down. Nearly every shop has like a chest in it. I've only found a couple that don't, but nearly every shop has a chest in it, and they normally have really good items. He's there telling me that the chest was full of gems, so we're like super rich, which is really good. The shopkeepers have unlimited money, but how much money you get paid, I believe, is linked to your trading skill. So the better your trading skill, the more money you get. And to be honest, in this game, money is your sort of main resource besides weapons and armour. Your items are important, but money is really valuable, because the shopkeepers are very selective about what they buy and sell most of the time. You want to have money to buy the items you need, so it's better to sort of have lots of money than it is to have lots of like spare items, because you want to be able to stay mobile. And so that's what he's basically doing. Diffoax is basically doing. He's basically hoarding loads of items. I skipped forward a bit of time just because he spends a while basically just sort of hoarding massive amounts of money, which is nice. And I didn't realise until slightly later on that we had actually 2 shopkeepers on this level, which was really rare. Plus the level itself was fairly open, which is really nice because it limits the amount of traps in the level. Though unfortunately a lot of traps have sort of like lines of sight on them, so if you walk through a boulder trap, even if you're like 50 feet away, it will still trigger it and it will come at you. So you have to be really on your toes. Yeah, so I'm sort of suggesting to him by this point that maybe it'd be worth it. Look, you can just see he triggers a boulder trap to the right and he basically misses it. I was sort of suggesting at him at this point that maybe it would be sort of worth going on, because I'd been watching him for a while and I didn't want you guys to get frustrated. And here's another one of the enemies of the level. The slimes, the blue slimes, are actually quite a threat. They have massive amounts of HP. Unlike other slimes in the game, the blue slimes have massive amounts of HP and they're relatively tough and they do a lot of damage, so you have to be careful. I spawn back in with hardly any gear or anything on, because obviously you start butt naked. And I'm just sort of contemplating something at the moment when we get told that there's going to be another minotaur attack, so I quickly stop what I'm doing and try and get my gear on as quickly as possible. I still have, as you can see in the bottom, in my hotbar menu, I still have the mapping spell, and I have just enough mana. So I decide that I'm going to basically use the mapping spell to try and find the exit as quickly as possible. Because we just want to go, we just want to leave, and we were quite fortunate actually. Both the exits were really close to each other, which would have been a nightmare to find. So I basically called to Foax to basically tell him that the exit's here and that we should go. Because the Minotaur is really unpredictable. He tends to have a 1 to 5 minute window, but he can turn up straight away sometimes. But he can turn up anywhere within the first 5 minutes, and unless you're really high level, it's pretty hard to kill him. So a lot of the time it's just worth legging it unless the Zap squad, which is an NPC Minotaur hunting squad, turn up. He gives me another spell book, a couple of really good spell books. I think one's Confusion and the other one is... I can't remember what the other one was. Oh no, it's a healing spell, yeah. He gives me basically a spell of Confusion and a spell of Healing, which are some really good spells. Personally, by this point we're pretty much set spell-wise for most of the game. We have Fireball and Force Push, which are really good damage spells. We have Unlock and Mining, which gets you around a lot of the later game stuff, and Confusion and map reading helps you immensely. Map reading is really useful. I mean, towards the end of the game, you're really wanting to have really powerful, like, damage range spells like Fireball, just because the Baron in this game is just so massively powerful. He's like Dark Souls boss level powerful. First time I met him with the Foax, basically he one-shotted me. I was a knight, relatively high level, and he hit me with his fully charged spell combo and basically wiped me out. And the Foax spent the next 10 minutes sprinting around the map, desperately trying to kill him. As you can see, we're both being massively paranoid at the ceilings, because obviously you can't see boulders, you can't see the boulder traps, and the boulder traps, unless you have basically a life amulet which brings you back to life with some really heavy protection. Boulder traps literally kill you in one shot. Now at this point something really strange happens. I wasn't totally aware, I don't know if it happens just yet, but in a few minutes what happens is that I believe the Foax basically, he triggers a teleportation spell or the like. I don't think it happens just yet. But basically, he triggers a teleportation spell or booby trap. It teleports him to a trap room, but that's not for a moment or two yet. But as you can see, what I meant, that the enemies won't go in the water, but you can't fire either. So we're both sort of in the situation where we're stuck in water trying to get away from this monster, while at the same time not being able to fight back, which is never very good. Yeah, so I'm basically looting everything, just appraising all my items. You'd be surprised how much of your stuff in this game can be cursed. I mean, on bad runs you can have like 90% of your equipment is cursed, and on the other side of the spectrum you can come across hardly anything which is cursed. But it all depends. I have to admit, here, it's just here, yeah. Basically, see, look, he gets teleported by a spell and gets killed. So he's in the really bad position of being dead. I'm trying to get to his gear at the same time and not really understanding what's going on. And so I try and look for his stuff. This is where things get really complicated. I missed a slime back there, and the slime comes at me and starts attacking me, so I basically backtrack and try and kill it. As you can see, it's a blue slime, so it has loads and loads of health. So I'm panicking at this point because I don't want to die and lose all his gear. Fortunately, the slime seems to have got stuck on the doorway, so I killed it with a fireball. And now this happens. I get stuck. I manage to glitch the boulder so it doesn't kill me, it just pins me to the wall between two doorways, and I can't get out, so I'm here slightly panicking, trying to explain to the Foax what's going on. he can't quite believe it. Unfortunately, I skip this bit slightly because I try and use the mining spell on the pillar to get out and it doesn't work, so it takes us a little bit of time for my mana to charge back up. As you can see me trying to use it here, I unfortunately cast the wrong spell before I didn't have enough mana for it to work, so I switch over to the mining spell and I use it on the door, on the boulder, and I break it. Unfortunately, this is where the game gets a bit disappointing. It crashes after about another minute or so, so after this it doesn't have much left. But I hope you guys have all enjoyed. Please press the like button and follow me on the subscription button provided below. Until next Wednesday, I believe. This is when the next midweek madness is happening next Wednesday. I hope you all like it. So I'll leave you to enjoy the darkness. Goodbye.